Okay, guys, there may be others that join us. I have no idea at this point, but it's time to start. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We won't be online a long, long time tonight unless you have questions of me. I just felt like we needed to, because of the deadline this week, I felt like that we needed to to touch base just to see if there are any questions. Most of you are through um, with the task stream requirements. Most of you are. There's a few of you that still um, you have to complete the final competency folio and the internship log, but as far as the evidence work, most of you have turned that work in, and so we're clear with that. I have done a full assessment of the Blackboard work, and I remember I told you I was pretty lenient about that because I was allowing you to work on your evidence work, but time's running out, and I would remind you that, again, don't cheat yourself, and I'm just going to be plain with you. Don't insult my integrity and send me something that is not quality work for a graduate student. I know you're tired. I know it's the end of a journey that you've been on for a while, but make sure that you end right, and make sure that you never know down the road. Dr. Lamb, we get calls and contacts all the time because people that you reach out for employment opportunities with, they find out where you finished school, and so they will make contact with us about, what kind of student was this, how did they do in their, assessment of their internship and things of that nature. So, don't make it difficult for anybody to be able to say something positively that's going to help, move you or launch your career and take that next step. So I would encourage you to make sure that you end right. Some of you have completely finished your Blackboard assignments and you've paced yourself well. All of that is part of being an administrator. Administration, you have to learn to pace yourself. There's always going to be lots and lots and lots and lots of things to do, and you're never going to get through. As an administrator, those of you that are already working in administrative roles, you know that that's a job. It never ends. Before you can get one thing finished, sometimes before you can get it started, you've got 2 or 3 other things on the plate that you've got to do as well. So, I would encourage you, as you're bringing closure to this chapter of your life and beginning to look at new areas of your careers, that you make sure that you focus on time management, making sure that whatever you do, that you always put your best foot forward. I would encourage you again, as I said the last 2 or 3 times that we've been together, you're writing, even if it's a text message or, an email message, or you're communicating, because that's a lot of the communication you have to do now. Make sure that that it represents you well. Make sure that you go back and you check, and we all, I do it myself. I'll catch after I send something, I say, God, I missed that word or miss something. But, don't let it be just blatant things that that's going to somebody looks at it and they say, wow, I can't believe that person, that they're doing what they're doing. Don't let it reflect you negatively. So make sure that you work on that. All of you, have you completed your you've done everything that you need to do for graduation? I would assume everybody's clear on graduation. You've got all that taken care of. Okay. Is there anybody that has any questions at this point about anything in TaskStream? I think those of you that have had any questions, you've emailed me, or you've asked a question, or that way, or you've contacted Dr. Lamb if he had been working with you. So anybody, do you have any questions at all about any of the final work that needs to be done in TaskStream? Okay. I didn't think so. Remember next week that you must have your strengths-based book completed and the assessment done. Many of you have already done that, and I will tell you, the ones that I have read, you've done an excellent job looking at the results of that and you know, doing a valid assessment of yourself and basically seeing how you compare to what the results of that assessment says. You will find that, and we'll talk about this more next week, but you'll find that as you grow in administration, as you change roles, those of you that are, if you're still in the classroom, you've practiced administration some in your internship, but until you actually are in that role and you are no longer having to wear the hat of a teacher most of the time, and then have to, you're going to find that some of the things begin to change, and not only in assessments like the one with the strengths-based assessment, but you know, the personality assessments, any of those things, they're going to change as you grow. When you go into an assistant principalship, you take on a different role. But then as you move from that and you go into principalships one day, you're going to see that things change then, and you're going to, you know, as a teacher, practicing teacher and working in your internship, you already have realized, you know, there was a time in your life when you said, you know, why did that principal do what he or she did, or why did that assistant principal make that decision? Now you understand things better, or you should understand things differently. You know, there's a rhyme and reason most of the time why decisions are made, and you've already had to separate yourself from if you're in the teaching field, you've already had to separate yourself somewhat from the teachers that you work with, because you don't see things like they necessarily see it all the time, and you shouldn't, because you're at a different level than they are now. So you're going to find all that changes. You know, it's going to continue to change over time. I've taken many of these assessments, the Myers-Briggs and those things. I took the Myers-Briggs probably 4 or 5 times over the course of my career. And while some things remained constant, some things did change, and it changed simply because I had matured more. It changed because I was in a different role when I moved into from the assistant principal to the principalship. I was at a middle school, and when I went from a middle school to a high school principal, I mean, everything changed because you do things so much differently than you do at other levels. And then when I went from there, working at the superintendent's level, you know, I had to look at the whole perspective of a whole school district, and so, you know, my thinking changed then. So you're going to see, you know, all of those things change over the course of the rest of your career. Does anybody have any questions of me at this time? That you look too serious, all of you. I mean, this is not a lineup. You're not guilty as charged. So thank you for the smiles. I know you're tired, but just know that over the next few days, if there's anything for TaskStream, remember that it must be submitted, completely submitted and approved by Sunday, by the 15th. I would encourage you, if you're one of those that still has something lingering for TaskStream, do not wait until Sunday. Do not wait. If there are problems with anything, and sometimes you think that there's not a problem, just like not out of this group, but I had a student to submit, she submitted her internship logs to TaskStream, but she sent an email message and she said, wow, I'm through finally. But then when I went in there and looked at the at the logs that when I tried to open it up, nothing would open up. So she had to go back and she had to figure out, you know, what was the problem? What have I done? What have I done wrong? And see, if you wait until the last minute and then there is a problem with anything, then there's no turnaround time for Dr. Lamb and me to be able to, you know, to help you with that. Because Dr. Lamb, I'm glad you joined in. How you doing?
Good. Technical problems.
Yes, I figured so. But I was just telling them, most of these, Dr. Lamb, their task stream work, all of the evidence work has been, well, most of the students, there's a couple that still having to work out some things, but for the most part, the evidence work has been completed and cleared in task stream. There's a few of them that still owe the final competency folio and the internship logs, but that, you know, and I've told them not to wait until Sunday afternoon late, that if there's a problem and we have to call it back, you've got to submit everything finally for their graduation purposes on Monday. Am I correct?
9 o'clock.
So guys, do not wait. That's why you have gotten emails from me. I've told you to, you know, to do this, and I know you probably get tired. There's one more email from Dr. Steven. Well, I'm sorry. I'm just going to do that. That's who I am. But, you know, don't wait until the last minute. Your Blackboard assignments, please remember that is the evidence work was important, and that's part of your grade, but half of your grade is going to come from your Blackboard assignments as well. So, you know, just know that I am looking at those, and I'm looking at them seriously. I've allowed you to self-pace yourself, but again, with that, I don't expect to see somebody submit Sunday night or at the last minute 7 things at one time. I'm going to tell you, first of all, it tells me that you've waited until the last minute to do it. Secondly, I question whether you have really read the material and studied it like you need to. So, you know, I'm asking you to take the time and to do it right. Dr. Lamb, I've said a lot already in just a few minutes. What do you have to say to them? I told them it would not be a long meeting tonight, that I just wanted to touch base with them.
Go. That's it.
You don't have anything that you need to say with them. I've cleared everything. They didn't have any questions today, so, you know, they're the A+ group with task stream, and, you know, none of them had any questions on anything. Guys, you have any further questions on anything? Okay, I am available. You know, if you need me, send me a text message. You know, call me. Some of you have called me. It's okay to call me if there's a problem at the last minute. Anyway, okay, make sure that your strengths-based assessment, that the book is read and you've completed that. I am going to send you a document. In fact, I'll send it over the next day or two, and it's not anything that you have to you don't have to send me anything back. It's just some things I want you to look at as it relates to the strengths-based assessment book. And when Dr. Lamb and I join you next week, you know, it may be, Dr. Lamb, just a point of discussion with 2 or 3 of these items. So, you know, I am going to send you that. So it's things to ponder on and to think about, you know, from the book after you've read it. Again, complete your assessments if you have not completed that, and get that into Blackboard.
Now, 2 weeks from tonight on the 24th, that's when we're going to do interviewing. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And next week we said that, you know, that somewhat the strengths-based assessment, the results from that, we're going to talk about that. They really have done, the ones that have turned it in, Dr. Lamb, have done a good job looking at it, and, you know, just looking at themselves and comparing the results to where they really are and where they think they are. Also, the review that you ask all of them to do, you know, about the MELS program, several of you have already submitted that, and you've copied me in what you sent to Dr. Lamb. We thank you for that information, and if you have not done that, Dr. Lamb would appreciate you completing that and getting that to him as well. And again, when you send it to him, I enjoy reading it as well, because it helps me in looking at, you know, what can we do to make the program better. We appreciate your candidness on that as well. Okay. Okay, who's that?
Derek.
Hey, okay, go ahead.
I want to know if it might be possible for Dr. Lamb to consider the interviewing portion next week, but only because some of us are actually going through interviews and things like right now, and that information will be helpful tomorrow, quite honestly. So is there any way maybe we can get some information next week, or do we need to wait until the 24th?
Okay, Dr. Lamb, I am flexible.
You are.
I'm very flexible, with whatever we need to do, whatever is going to be best, for the students.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, we can start next Tuesday.
Well, you know what, Dr. Lamb? If I'm okay. We can incorporate just briefly the strengths-based assessment. It pretty much speaks for itself, and we'll just incorporate that, and we can just kind of do impromptu things and let the next 2 weeks. We'll make it count, and we'll put that in there. But if interviewing is something that they think is the most important thing for them right now, then we can spend more quality time on that instead of some of the other things.
All right.
Thanks, Gary, for that. We want it to work for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Lisa, I saw that. Good deal. We want all of you to be successful. Okay, guys. Okay. Go ahead, Dr. Lamb.
Amber got a job today. Well, it was yesterday. We're 6 hours ahead. So Amber got a job yesterday. Yay!
That's great. Oh, I did want to tell you, some of you guys have been in the class with Nadej over the course of the 5 semesters. Dr. Lamb and I got an email from Nadej yesterday, and the problems that some of you may have been keeping up, some of the civil unrest in Haiti, because that's where she lives and works. She has been caught up in that. She actually, they have not had electricity, no internet capacities. They had to close things down because of all that civil unrest that was going there. So, please keep Nadej and them in your thoughts and in your prayers. Okay, guys, we'll see you next week then.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Have a good one. Okay. Bye-bye.
We will start interviewing next week. All right.
Okay.
Everybody have a good week.